Welcome to this virtual careers panel as part of Leeds Manufacturing Festival. My name is Farron Convey. I work for AHEAD Partnership. My role today is to help you, the students, to learn more about the many different roles in manufacturing and also to gain a greater understanding of apprenticeships. Students, your role. There are three things I'd like you to do today. I want you to find out three things that you didn't know before or are of interest to you. And I'd like you to note those down on the sheets of paper that you've been given. To help us all learn, we've got a really knowledgeable panel. So firstly, let me introduce the chair of Leeds Manufacturing Festival, Tracy Dawson. Tracy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I would. Good afternoon. I am Tracy Dawson, as you've heard. I'm the Managing Director of Dale Tech Electronics. We're an SME, a small medium enterprise in Pudsey, and we manufacture electronics. So for those of you that have no idea what that means, we put tiny components on boards, and those boards go into various applications, some of which you'll have heard of and some of which you won't. Mostly we do industrial control. We manufacture niche products, small volume, so there's a lot of changing in products daily sometimes. So it's quite an interesting job that we do here.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Tracy. Our lead sponsors today are the Works Recruitment. So please could I welcome Gary. And Gary, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Gary Freeman. I'm a recruitment consultant here at the Works. So my job here is I supply our clients, which are the likes of Tracy Dawson and Ben Wilson, that's on the call, with members of staff, with skilled and unskilled members of staff to help them run their business.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Gary. We've got two Bens on the call today, but the first one who's going to introduce himself is Ben Newby. So over to you, Ben.
Hi, everyone. My name's Ben. I'm a former apprentice here at my place of work, which is a manufacturing company called Empac Lambert, based in Tadcaster, North Yorkshire. And I started my apprenticeship back in 2014 at the age of 19.
Thank you, Ben. And Cameron, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Cameron. I'm currently on my apprenticeship. It's a digital marketing apprenticeship for a manufacturing company called Northern Flags. I've just hit my 1 year anniversary, so there's only a few months left.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Cameron. And Ben Wilson, if you'd like to introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, afternoon, everyone. I'm Ben Wilson, currently Managing Director at MPM. We're a fiberglass manufacturer making moulds and parts for anything from water tanks, sewage treatment tanks, parts for caravans, coach build, anything and everything in fiberglass, and based in Bramley in Leeds.
Thanks very much, Ben. So students, that's your panel for today. Students, I've got a question for you, and I'd like you to raise your hand, and I could do with the teacher's assistance with regard to that. The first question I've got for you as students is, could you put your hand up if you're confident that you know what manufacturing is?
Hand up. 1, 2. This is not a test, by the way. You've got it on. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You've got about 10. 10 far.
What sort of percentage is that, sir?
About 60%. 60%.
Oh, 60%. That's really good. So Tracy, if I could ask you to give us a brief description of what manufacturing is for see if those students are correct, and then help the other 40% understand exactly what manufacturing is, please.
Well, let's hope I know. Manufacturing is about making products, and it doesn't matter what that product is, but everything we touch and use in our life has to be manufactured at some point. Now, when you listen to the press and the TV, there's certainly an indication that there isn't very much manufacturing in the UK, and that's absolute nonsense. We have some great manufacturing companies. We have over 1,800 in the Leeds area alone, and I think the figure was employing over 23,000 people. So there's an awful lot of opportunities within manufacturing, and I love it because we actually make something.
Fantastic. Cameron, could you tell us what an apprenticeship is? Because we're also going to be talking about apprenticeships today.
Yeah, an apprenticeship is basically a way of learning while on the job. So whether you're in an office or in a production line, whatever it is, you're learning those skills on the job. And you may have some written work or exams included, but almost 90%, if not higher or lower, is actually learning on the job.
Fantastic, that's great, thank you. Okay, we'd like to get some questions for the panel from the students. So, sir, could we get the first question from one of your students, please?
Got one here, just coming up now, Baron. Going to come across to the desk.
Which project are you most proud of working on?
Fantastic, thank you. Which project are you most proud of working on, Ben Newby?
I'd say it's the project I'm currently working on at the moment, which is a COVID testing machine. I feel quite privileged to be working on it at the moment, just because it's such a relevant subject in people's lives at the moment, and hopefully what we're doing will benefit us all at some point in the near future.
I think that's one of the best answers I've ever had to a first question on a careers panel. What a great start, Ben. Very difficult for the next person who's going to be answering the next question. So could we get another question, please?
We've got them all lined up, Baron. They're coming through one at a time.
What inspired you to work in manufacturing?
Ben Wilson, what inspired you to work in manufacturing?
No idea, to a degree. I was fortunate to work in a family business within the school holidays, and although I'm not particularly practically minded, I managed to pick up fiberglass laminating and I suppose a decent work ethic and an attitude towards it at the time. And as much as I hate to admit it, I probably just stubborn, competitive, and decided that I wanted to do a better job than my dad at running a business. So I got my head down, worked hard, worked on me, tried to improve, and eventually ended up buying the business and running it with my two brothers.
Thanks very much. It's one of the teachers here. Can I just ask another supplementary question? Yeah. Could
Please
you,
do.
in a couple of sentences, explain what fiberglass, something that's made out of fiberglass?
So if you're looking at a caravan, predominantly that will be either vac formed plastic or it'll be fiberglass. So there'll be the front and rear panel. They're more often than not fiberglass. The locker door lid, the step into the caravan. If you look at the side skirts and aero packs on a wagon trailer, they're generally fiberglass. Probably a good 40% of an ambulance conversion's fiberglass. The back of your bath will be a fiberglass bath. Resins are used cast in your shower trays. Doors are fiberglass. So a lot of brand new doors now in composites, they're all fiberglass.
Thanks ever so much. That was just to sort of give the students a better sort of example on a daily use of things that they might see around in everyday life of what fiberglass is. Thank you. Would you like
great question. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, really good question. Could we get another question from one of the students, please?
What are the benefits of apprenticeships?
Okay, what are the benefits of apprenticeships, would you say, Cameron?
I'd say compared to going to college or doing some education where you're focused on that education solely, you're in a workplace with professionals who have done the jobs that you're being set to do. So you can constantly ask questions and get hands-on real-world experience at doing those jobs.
That sounds great. What do you think, Ben Newby? What do you think are the benefits of apprenticeships?
Similar to what Cameron said, you can learn on the job, but you're earning whilst you learn as well. You can get the exact same qualifications if you were to go to university, because you can work your way up to a degree level, and you just get to experience what the working world's like, really. I suppose if you start at 16, I've got friends that went to uni and they've not started working until they're 25, so you get 9 years extra experience of working life and dealing with day-to-day tasks.
Excellent, thanks for that, Ben. Could we get another question from one of the students, please, sir?
What motivates you?
Gary, what motivates you at work?
I think I'm in a very lucky environment where supplying my clients, so my customers are companies, with staff. So I've got twofold. I get to hear the success stories from the client. So I get phone calls from bosses like Tracy and Ben telling me how good these people are and what a good job that they've done to move the company forward. But also I get phone calls from the people actually doing the job, and they get the satisfaction of obviously having a job and working in a place that they want to work in and how successful they've been. So I get my satisfaction out of hearing them success stories.
Sounds fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing that. Great question. Could we get another question, please, from one of the students?
Because we've got them socially distanced a bit further away from the microphone, it might take a few seconds. Yeah, go ahead.
What advice do you wish you were given as a young person?
Well, that's a really good question. Tracy, what advice do you wish you were given as a younger person?
Well, none. Obviously, I'm just perfect. I wish that I'd got involved in manufacturing earlier. I don't think, with hindsight, that academic qualifications are necessarily what you need to follow. I think that the apprenticeship is such a great vehicle to get you into the world of working, but also to give you a career. Which actually, 100 years ago when I was at school, that wasn't the case. Apprenticeships weren't as fulfilling as they can be now. So I wish that I had put a bit more effort into my career, I think.
Excellent, thank you. Ben Newby, what advice do you wish you were given when you were a little younger than you are now?
I think having one of these careers panels would have helped, because at my school, especially with manufacturing, it was never mentioned. Apprenticeships weren't mentioned, so I wish there was just more information about apprenticeships and how they actually are really beneficial and how you can benefit from them in the long run, and an alternative to going to university, really.
Excellent, thanks. I'm pleased we put today on then. That's really, really useful. Gary, what advice do you wish you were given when you were younger?
I think mine was because I was so interested and wanted to be in engineering and manufacturing. I didn't probably listen as much as I probably should have at school, because I just wanted to deal with my hands, and that's all I thought that was. I did get the right grades, and I got the grades that I needed to get. But if I'd worked harder, I'd have been able to start a little bit further on within my apprenticeship. So I started right at the very beginning, whereas actually if you get a bit better grades, you can start a little bit higher and start a little bit further on with that as well. So getting probably better grades and being more well equipped.
Sounds sensible to me. What about you, Cameron? What advice do you wish you were given?
I think similar to everyone else, I wish I knew the different options for getting into the real world, essentially. So realizing that college and university isn't the only option to be able to get a good job in the future. I did my apprenticeship quite late, and so if I could have done it a few years ago, looking at where my career will be in a few years is quite a good thought.
Excellent. And the same question to you, Ben Wilson.
Probably I never really had an issue with my work ethic or out, and I sort of knew what I wanted to do. But I wish somebody had just pulled me to one side and said, best project you can work on will be yourself. So stop looking at other people and judging or blaming, but concentrate on yourself and have some written goals. I was introduced to a business coach about 15 years after starting at MPM, and it's one of them that I truly wish that I'd stumbled across him at the age of 21, not 34.
So writing down your goals, students, is a very wise piece of advice there from Ben. Could we get another question from the student?
Before we go to Jack, can I ask a quick question?
Of course.
Tracy said there was 23,000 people working in manufacturing in Leeds. Is Brexit going to affect that in any way?
No, if anything, it's I think it should do the opposite. There's been a lot of reshoring. There's a lot of interest in manufacturing in the UK. I mean, there isn't just Brexit to get over. There's obviously the repercussions from what we're living through in COVID. But manufacturing is pretty buoyant. I think everybody on the call will tell you that. The last 2 months, everything's picked up, and we're seeing a lot of interest to manufacture product back in the UK. So, no, I think it will have a positive effect rather than a negative effect.
So Tracy, to follow up on that, two questions for you. Firstly, could you tell us what reshoring is? And secondly, based on what you've just said, does that mean there are likely to be more job opportunities for young people in the future?
Two things. Reshoring means bringing product manufacture back into the UK. Now, make no mistake, the high volume manufacture generally is not in the UK. It's going to still be out in Asia and China and Taiwan. But there is an opportunity at the moment to bring some of the manufacturing back into the UK, and we are definitely seeing that. Two reasons. One, there's hold-ups in the ports, and two, because there is an actual appetite for British manufacturing. I think that there will be a lot of jobs. I think that sometimes when you talk about manufacturing, all you think about jobs in manufacturing is actually making something. But there's a whole gamut of jobs around that, and careers in accounts and marketing and HR. There's a lot of digital innovation going on, and we need young people that can understand the digital and the tech and so on. So of course there'll be lots of new jobs.
Fantastic. Could we get another question from a student, please?
Yep, brilliant. Oh, it's a really good one, this one. Go on, Jack.
Before interviewing someone for a job, does your company look at their social media?
So, Gary, you're in recruitment. Before interviewing somebody for a job, do your clients search for them on social media?
Yes, absolutely. Pretty much all of the time now, because it is, as much as you've got a CV, which is obviously a piece of paper that you write yourself, your social media is also you, and people want to know who you actually are before you join the business. So they will look at everything. In the professional world where we work in, there is LinkedIn, and people will use that, but they will also check your Instagram, your Facebook, and everything else that you post on to see what type of person you are.
What would be a no-no then, in your opinion, just so the students are aware?
Anything that would harm, or if you wouldn't like it being said about you, then it shouldn't be said about somebody else. And anything that would harm any others, it would be a big no-no.
That's a really good answer. Is there anything positive that could be posted on social media that might increase the chances of the students getting an interview?
Yeah, general interests. So, I go out mountain biking, so I'll put stuff on there about mountain biking, which is something that interests me. So it's dedication to a sport and dedication to something. The other thing is helping out. If you've helped out with family, friends, someone on your street, we're in a world of COVID where a lot of people are helping each other out. Tell people about it, because it's there and it makes you look good. It makes you look very good. So that's what I would say anyway.
Excellent. That's a really good question. Could we get another question from one of the students, please?
Aaron, can I just sort of interrupt 1 second before we go on? We've got the next question ready. But just to sort of go through, reiterate with the students here, just to give you some background as well. These are Year 8 students, yeah? As you'll be fully aware, Year 11s, Year 12s, Year 13s are going to have some difficult months ahead of them once we get out of COVID. So they're in a great position to start thinking about future career pathways. Apprenticeships, just to reiterate that, it's often referred to as learn and earn, i.e., I don't think there's a sector, and please correct me if I'm wrong, there isn't a sector which isn't covered by an apprentice or the opportunity to do an apprenticeship in that sector. So from day one, you'll be employed by that company. The course might last a year, 2 years, 3 years, yeah, but they will pay you from day one. And another misconception about apprenticeships is, can I go to university? Yes, you can. There's something called higher apprenticeships, and this for you guys here are going to be hearing more and more of as you go through your rest of your school life. Apprenticeships are going to be a really big part of your life, so please be aware of them. So thank you very much. We've got the next question.
What do you like about working in manufacturing?
Ben Newby, what do you like about working in manufacturing?
For me personally, I just love how anything you see or use, such as something simple from a pen, pencil, the iPad you might use in your classroom, to the cars or buses that you turn up to school in, everything has had some sort of involvement in manufacturing, which is probably the main reason that I decided I want to get into manufacturing, really, which I found very interesting.
Fantastic, thanks. Tracy, what do you love about working in manufacturing?
I just love the fact that we actually manufacture and that we are helping other companies to succeed. So we don't have any products of our own, we're manufacturing for other people. So we can help them and see their product, and we can see how it progresses, and we can see how it's marketed. Everybody that knows me knows that I'm passionate about the fact we make something.
Excellent, thank you. Really good question. Could we get another really good question, please?
Yeah.
Has anyone on the panel had a change of career?
Gary, have you had a change of career?
Yeah, I've had three, you could say. So I started my apprenticeship at 16, left school, went into an apprenticeship and did my 3.5-4 years CNC programming. So that stood at a machine, making anything from tiny components to gearboxes that go on trains. And I left that because I thought I wanted to go into retail and sell and speak to people, and I just didn't want to be there in that environment at the time. So I then left and went to retail, and I spent 9-10 years in retail. And then I've always been close to a manufacturing industry. I've always loved engineering. I've always been inquisitive and wanted to know how things have been made and why they've been made that way. And so I got the opportunity to work in recruitment, supply and manufacturing businesses. So I then changed back to the manufacturing industry. So although we are a recruitment agency, we like to think that we are working in the manufacturing environment and working in an engineering environment and helping people and working where we can help people get into manufacturing.
Excellent, thanks, Gary. Could we get another question, please?
How much could you earn in manufacturing?
Gary, how much could you earn in manufacturing?
The world, I hate to say this, but the world is your oyster. You can earn as much or as little as you want. You can work your way up. You can be at the levels that Ben and Tracy are and be the heads of companies, and you could be the heads of Jaguar Land Rover. They're a manufacturer. So you could work your way up to them. So yeah, there is no ceiling on that.
How much do you think the head of Jaguar Land Rover ballpark figure might earn? I'm not expecting you to know the exact amount, but
I think it'll be in six figures, won't it? It'll be millions that he'll get bonuses and things like that.
A lot of money then. Excellent. Thank you very much for asking that question. Could we get another question, please?
What are the top 2 qualities or skills your business looks for when hiring?
Ben, what are the top 2 qualities or skills you're looking for when you're recruiting new team members?
It's really tricky because I think CVs get lost a little bit now because everybody's taught to write a CV quite similar, make your CV stand out. But one of the key things that I look for in the first month is, do you back your CV up and do you back up what you've said in your interview? Because in your interview, if I say to you, what are you going to bring to MPM? I'm going to be brilliant in a team or as an individual. If you're not a good team player, just say you work really well individually. If I'm employing somebody to work in purchasing, I might need them to work as an individual. If you're not really a team player and you're a bit more introvert, or, I'd say so. Don't put on there or say in your interview. I think one of the key things is that actions speak louder than words. We had one guy and he was more, he'll have been in his 30s. He told me he'd run through boardroom wall for me. I said, no, you won't. It's a ridiculous statement, and we'll see how you do when you start. And unfortunately, he lasted about 6 weeks, and he just didn't have what it was to, back it up. I think the actions have got to be there. And like you say, I think don't put it on your CV. We've had people say top quality problem solving. We're 16. No disrespect, but from life skills and problem solving, it was one lad were very clever because I said, give me an example of problem solving. I forgot my key one night. So what did he do? Well, I stood in garden and I tried to figure out how I could get in without my mum knowing, and I realised I could get on shed, shimmy up drain pipe and climb through a bathroom window, and I thought, that's quite good, that's quite creative, good problem solving.
Excellent, thanks Ben. I've recruited hundreds of apprentices in a previous role for a variety of national organisations, and most of them I think wanted 2 things. They wanted people with a desire to work, so that's people that turned up every day and turned up early every day. And they also wanted people with an ability to learn as well, because as Ben says, not expecting you to be the finished article when you join at 16 or 18. They want somebody that's got that willingness and ability to learn. Really good question though. Could we get another one, please?
What are the difficult things about manufacturing?
Could you say that again, sorry?
What are the difficult things about manufacturing?
Tracy, what's difficult about manufacturing?
What's difficult about life? There's all sorts of things that are difficult. But if you love what you're doing and you've got the right attitude and you've got the right support, if one of our companies wants an apprentice, then we've already committed to that. We've already committed to the fact that we know that you're not going to have all the answers, but we want to commit to training you and we want to help you through that. So there will be, at your age, the difficulties might be just getting to work on time and figuring out how you're going to get there and your lunches. They can be as simple as that. But fundamentally, if your attitude is right, then you can, and you're getting the right support, then you can overcome all the difficulties.
Brilliant, and a really good question. Thank you for asking that. Could we get another question, please?
How do you prepare for an interview?
How do you prepare for an interview? Cameron, could you tell us how you prepared for recent interviews, or what advice you would give to somebody preparing for an interview?
Yes. Well, I think everyone prepares slightly differently. For those who get nervous or anxious, simply taking your mind off it, whether that's listening to music, going over interview questions in your head so that you're mentally prepared, doing research on the company so that you feel confident in being able to answer any questions that come up. It's kind of just your own confidence kind of comes out in an interview. So getting that self-confidence ready is very important.
Absolutely. And Gary, what would you add to that?
I think the one thing that I was told very early on is it's a two-way process is an interview. And it's not necessarily about the company want you, just the company want you. It's actually about, do you want to spend 8-9 hours a day in them walls that you're going to be working at? So prepare good questions to ask the actual employer as well. The other thing is know where you're going, know the journey that you need to get there, and know the person that you're going to meet and the company that you're going to meet.
Very good advice. You want to make sure you turn up early, don't you? And not get lost and things like that. Excellent question, and really, really good advice from both Cameron and Gary there. Thank you. Could we get another question, please, from the students?
Can you share any targets or deadlines you work towards in your job, and how do you stay on top of them?
So Ben Newby, Do you have targets or deadlines in your job? And if so, how do you stay on top of them?
I do. My role is to be responsible for the assembly, which is the build of machinery that is designed for the customer. Every project I work on has a build end date, which is the exact date that the machine build has to be finished by. An example of how I stay on top of this and make sure myself and the build team is on track to finish by the deadline is just setting myself and my colleagues tasks to complete for each day. We have to estimate how long a particular task will take, and at the end of each day we can see if we've underestimated or overestimated. But by the end of the week we have a good idea of how successful the week has been based on how many tasks we've completed.
Excellent, thank you very much. Can we get another question, please?
Why is your job in demand?
Why is your job in demand, or why are jobs in demand, Ben Wilson?
Well, like Tracy's alluded to earlier, I actually think manufacturing's very buoyant at the moment in the UK. I know there's a lot of doom and gloom, but there's also a lot of positive news stories. I do think some manufacturing will come back to these shores, and I think in manufacturing you find a lot of doers and problem solvers. So, you know, having been at Impact Lambert before, where Ben's based, great company, and some of the things that they manufacture, again, I can only reiterate what the rest of the panel have said, that your McDonald's is manufactured, your Apple iPhone is manufactured, your Mac's manufactured, Microsoft's manufactured. Wherever you look, there are things that have been manufactured, and there's so many different opportunities. It's not just on the shop floor, but there's also nothing wrong with working with ease. And I think that's been forgotten in education, where if you don't like school, don't go to university, because it won't get any better. It's just school. You know, I've got two children. One's gone off the university route, one's gone off the apprenticeship route, because she didn't like school. And I think to earn and learn and have it more like coursework rather than exam work, you get those life skills and different skills within a job. But I think it's in demand problem solving, because you want problem solvers, not problem creators or reporters. You need top people to solve them.
Excellent, thanks Ben. Cameron, why's your job in demand?
Well, similar to Ben, I think manufacturing is growing. We've seen even during COVID times, tremendous growth, whether that be UK businesses wanting UK suppliers, or just the demand in general has gone up. And so we've seen, and I've seen jobs similar to mine, and in manufacturing in general, the demand increasing simply because there's more jobs and companies are expanding because of all the things that are going on.
And Cameron, in your business, what products are most in demand?
We've been doing a lot of the COVID signage, so all the floor stickers, banners, everything you see are out in the world that says socially distancing. You know, there's a chance that we've made that. So obviously, the demand for that over the last year has been incredible. So yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Sounds like there's always an opportunity, no matter what's happening in the world.
Absolutely, yeah.
Excellent. Could we get another question, please, from one of the students?
Just on that then, Farron, just to teach you then, is it important then that the manufacturing companies stick with or look at changing in trends and fashion and see what's going on in the world, and are able to adapt themselves to those changes?
What do you think, Tracy?
Yeah, I think that's the positive of running a business is to be able to look for opportunities and to be they used a word, and you've probably heard it in the press a lot, pivoting, which I know for a fact Ben hates that word. But it's about looking at the external landscape, seeing what's happening, and see if we can fit into that. Yeah, we have to be looking all the time, which makes it a much more exciting place to be.
Excellent, thanks. Could we get another question, please, from one of your students?
Yeah.
where have you travelled as part of your role?
But Ben Newby, do you want to answer this one? Where have you travelled as part of your role?
Luckily for me, I've been fortunate enough to travel all over the world, really. It's allowed me to visit places that I would never normally think of going on holiday or for city breaks, for example. But example of a few places that I've been to are Puerto Rico, Budapest, which is in Hungary, Slovakia, Germany, and Costa Rica. And another bonus of going to places like that is the nice weather you get to enjoy once you're there if you're not too busy.
Were you too busy, or was it just seeing the inside of hotel rooms?
Mainly hotel to factory, but we did get to enjoy ourselves on the last few days, just if you get the job done early.
Good incentive there, I think. Definitely. Sounds good. We get another question, please.
Has everybody, sorry, Farron, just 1 second. Has everybody asked a question? Are we sure? Has anybody got any other questions, having heard what you've heard so far? Yeah, got another one. Brilliant. We're going off the cuff here now.
Good.
Go on.
How did you get into an apprenticeship?
So I'm going to ask Cameron this first, and then I'm going to ask Ben Newby. So how did you get into an apprenticeship? Tell us about how the whole process happened, Cameron.
Yeah. So I knew I wanted to get into marketing, but I didn't really know where to start or what exactly I wanted to specialize in. So I was searching jobs, and I came across a company called Back to Work, which focused on digital marketing apprenticeships. So I went for an interview there, and I had to do a 3-week course in order to get submitted for an apprenticeship at the company I was at now. So the whole process was, well, it was very smooth in terms of like getting started. I had no idea kind of what I was getting into, but it turned out so well that I'm so glad I did it.
So some people would think actually a 3-week course as part of a recruitment process is quite a lot. Do you look back and have any regrets, or do you think it was a good decision that you made?
It was definitely a good decision because it counts. It was a level 1 course, so something to put on the CV. It was all, for me, it was digital marketing related. So as soon as I went to that interview, I was saying, this is the stuff that I've just done, digital marketing related. These are the skills that I now have, and then I could answer any questions regarding that. So it's definitely worth it.
Fantastic. And Ben Newby, if you could talk us through the process that you followed when you were embarking upon your apprenticeship, please.
Yeah. I went to sixth form. So I didn't leave school at 16, so I went to sixth form with the intention of going to university. I think that was just because that was at the time what everyone else was doing. But thankfully, in my last year, I decided that's not what I wanted to do, because I did want to do something where I used my hands and it was hands-on. So thankfully, that's what I decided to do. I didn't start till I was 19, which is considered potentially maybe a late age to start. So if anyone thinking that you've got to be 16 or as young as possible to start, you can start an apprenticeship whenever you want. I think there was, in my college course, I think there was someone that was 40 years old that was starting a new apprenticeship. So it's never too late. But I applied so I finished my sixth form in 2013, and then I spent the year looking for an apprenticeship because I knew it was engineering that I decided that I wanted to do. I thankfully I had the opportunity to come for an interview here it was known as Lambert's at the time. Thankfully I got accepted, and then I started my 4-year apprenticeship. The first year I went to college full time, where I learned, it was sort of 60-40 to learning so the hands-on skills that are involved in manufacturing, and then 40% was the theory side of it. So my first year, as I say, was spent full time at college, and then years 2, 3, and 4 were just spent at my place of work, going through various departments in the business. So I got to learn about how a job is, how it first comes into the business at the very beginning, estimating, and how it's finished with commissioning before it then gets sent to the customer.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for taking us through all of that, Ben. Students, I'm going to check to see how well you've been listening to some of the questions or some of the answers you've been given today. So I've got some questions for you. And the first one is, how many people work in manufacturing in Leeds? So students, if you think it's 8,000, can you put your hand up?
Nobody?
If you think it's 17,000, can you put your hand up? And if you think it's a roughly 29,000, can you put your hand up?
100% hands up for that one there, Farron.
Excellent. Really impressed with the listening skills of your students there. Thank you. In which case, I think I'll ask them another question. They were right.
Yeah.
So, is the number of manufacturing firms in Leeds, do they think higher or lower than 1,500? So, if they think it's higher than 1,500, could they put their hands up, please?
5 or 6, 7.
Right, I'm going to reveal the answer and we'll see if those 7 were correct. Those 7 were correct. So the most recent figure I've got is 1,645 manufacturing firms in Leeds. So that's nearly 1,700 businesses that are potentially looking to employ young people. And which of these statements is true? If you think Leeds is the second oldest manufacturing centre in the country, put your hand up.
No hands.
No hands? Oh. If you think Leeds was the first manufacturing centre in the country to mass produce donuts, put your hand up.
No hands.
I'm pleased about that. And if you think Leeds is the third largest manufacturing centre in the country, hands up.
Full house again, Farron.
And I think I'm right in saying that the correct answer is that Leeds is the third largest manufacturing centre in the country. So well done. Very good listening skills, students. Very impressed. Could we get another question from you, students?
Oh, yeah, coming back, yeah.
When you have a problem or issue at work, what do you do to tackle it?
So Ben Wilson, when you have a problem or issue at work, what do you do to tackle it?
I suppose it depends how big it is. if it's your factory burning down or coronavirus striking, you grow a very stiff backbone and become very resilient. I think when we're looking at
has that happened, Ben?
That has happened, yes. When you are looking at problems within the manufacturing, it's gathering as much data as you can and the key people involved against some different areas of the team to discuss and look at the issues and see what you might be missing. We've built up our KPIs and data over the years, and it's, it becomes more and more important the bigger that you get, but it's still critical even when you're starting out, because without the data you can't actually start digging down into what exactly is going wrong.
What are KPIs and what sort of data do you collect and look at, Ben?
KPIs are key performance indicators. We look at anything. We actually have an indicator on the happiness of the team. So we actually gather feedback once a month. Quality, so you're always looking at the right first time. If out of 500 products, have you made 500 of them and they've all been okay, or have you made 490? What was the cost of that scrap, or potentially what was the cost of the rework, the output from a financial point of view, the efficiencies for operators, hour per man, turnover per square foot. They're all key things. We've actually analysed jobs and customers where the actual square footage area that a particular customer takes up, the turnover and the payback might not actually be great enough for it to be put ahead of another project, as it were. So we're analysing most things on a weekly basis within the business.
Excellent, thanks, Ben. Ben, you mentioned about happiness of staff. Tracy, if you have issues with staff, how do you address that?
Well, we're only a small team, but I really think that you should view work, as somewhere that you like going and you make friends. So we encourage that, and all our apprentices have mentors that they can talk to. We have WhatsApp groups and we use Teams, so communications is really easy. So if you do have a problem, it's really easy to shout it out to someone and get that support. And so we encourage that really open communication, and we're really interested in hearing about new ideas and how you could do something better or different.
Excellent, thank you. Got any more questions from the students, sir?
Yeah, coming up.
How do you see manufacturing changing in the next 10 years?
How do you see manufacturing changing in the next 10 years, Tracy?
There'll be massive uptake of digital technology in every area of the business. So when you hear about machines and there won't be they get new machines, AI, and all this sensing technology, then it will do people out of jobs because the machines are going to do the jobs. So that's not actually the case. We still need people to program the machines and run the machines and understand them. So the biggest changes will come around digital, about us understanding, as Ben was talking about data. Data is the key driver now for our companies, is to understand what the data is in every area of the business.
Gary, do you agree with Tracy?
Yeah, absolutely. Even when recruiting for companies, we look at data and look at how and why people work and what worked out and why people didn't work out. And that's all driven through their output within manufacturing businesses. And that output is measured by the data that Tracy and Ben will collect on a daily basis.
Excellent, thank you. Really good question. Could we get another question from one of the students, please?
What was your first job? Did you start as manufacturing, or did you have like a job before?
So, Tracy, did you start in manufacturing? What was your first job?
No, I didn't start in manufacturing at all. I was a beauty therapist to start with.
Completely different. Excellent. And Ben Wilson, what was your first job?
Probably working at MPM in school holidays, then paper round, then milk round, then another manufacturing company in Skipton, where I did work experience, and they said, "You've just done your interview. If you want a job, give us a ring." And then came to MPM and worked my way through. So, yeah, officially a paper round.
Excellent. Same here. What about you, Ben Newby?
I think mine were, I've had a few when I was younger, but the main one was in a fish and chip shop, frying fish.
Excellent. And what about you, Gary?
Mine was a cobbler, fixing shoes on a weekend and on a Wednesday night, because he used to go home half day on a Wednesday, so I used to have to go in after school on a Wednesday. So fixing shoes on a Saturday.
I remember those days.
Farron, could I just add that it's really good. It really enhances CVs, and when we're employing people, if young people have already had a job, a part-time job, or they've been volunteering, they've shown commitment to something, then it gives us a bit more confidence in the fact that they'll turn up for work every day because they've already shown that they can do that.
I fully support that, Tracy. I've got a question I'm going to ask the students in a moment, sir. But Cameron, first of all, can you tell us what your first job was, please?
Yeah, when I was in year 11, I was put on work experience in a distribution centre. And after the work experience, when I moved to college, they actually offered me a part-time job to stay on 1 day a week, let my day off from college.
Excellent, thank you. So the question I've got for the students, could you put your hand up if any of you volunteer or have ever done any volunteering?
Anybody volunteering? 1, 2, 5, 6.
Half a dozen.
6. So Tracy and Ben will tell you that I ask that question a lot when I'm hosting these careers panels in schools. And normally I might have 200 or 300 students in front of me. And if I got 5 or 6 hands that went up, we'd be super impressed, wouldn't we? So to have 5 or 6 in your school at the moment is phenomenal. And I think Tracy and Ben and Gary would all agree with me and say that if we received CVs and the people that mentioned volunteering on their CV would be the ones we would be most interested in interviewing. So really, really impressed with your students. That's fantastic. Really delighted to hear and see that.
I think
Get another question from the students, please.
Coming along, Farrell.
How do you prepare for an interview?
Gary, how should they prepare for an interview?
A little bit back with what I said is research. Research is key. Understand the company that you're going to look at. If you can find out who you're getting interviewed by and what they want to see out of you. Also have a look at the company, what they make, what they do, and are you interested in it? If you're not interested, you're not going to put your all into it. So make sure it's a job that you're going to be interested in. And then, as I said before, plan where you're going, plan your route, plan to be there early, and make sure that you dress appropriately for the interview. It's not all necessarily about shirt, tie, trousers, shiny shoes, because as you can see, Ben sat there in a polo shirt. I don't think any of us are, well, sorry, Farron, you're in a shirt, but you know, we're in a world where shirt and tie isn't necessarily the only thing that you should turn up to an interview in.
I think you're absolutely right, Gary. If you put a lot of preparation in, then I think it really gives you a chance to be enthusiastic and as confident as you possibly can be when you're in the interview. And trust me, as somebody who's interviewed hundreds, thousands of young people, you can tell who's prepared and who hasn't very, very quickly. And if somebody's prepared, then it really demonstrates that they're enthusiastic and that they really want the job. Even if they are a bit nervous, they'll still be able to talk about the reasons why they want to work for that company. Could we get another question, sir, from the students, please?
Aaron, are
Hello.
we okay if we make this the last question?
Absolutely.
Okay, only because of pickups and stuff like that.
Of
correct?
course.
What research should I do before applying for a job in manufacturing?
Could you just repeat that one a little bit louder, please?
What research should I do before applying for a job in manufacturing?
What research should they do if they're thinking about applying for a job in manufacturing, or where might they do some research, do you think? Ben Newby?
A number of places. YouTube, I'm sure majority of young kids watch YouTube. There's millions and millions of videos of manufacturing on there, from baked bean factories to car petrol tank factories. Books are always good. TV programs, there's quite a few TV programs on it that have been on recently about manufacturing. So absolutely anywhere you can, wherever you look on Google or any other providers, you'll be able to find out all sorts of information that you're looking for to do with manufacturing.
I agree with that. Tracy, final word from you?
The Leeds Manufacturing Festival website, leedsmanufacturingfestival.co.uk. We've got lots of different companies on there, different opportunities. Look at what you want to do first. Think about what you're interested in, and then look at the different sectors and see where, if that is applicable to it. But don't forget, just because it's manufacturing doesn't mean that we don't have a whole lot of other careers around, because we do.
Fantastic. Thank you for those words, Tracy. And thank you for being an amazing panel. Panel, I think the students have also been amazing as well. So could we just give them a little round of applause?
We just do the same, just a round of applause.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you all very much. Really enjoyed hosting this panel. Thank you very much.